Okay, awesome. Okay, today we're going to look at the story of Krishna, which all of us know, but there are different angles to that. There is a political angle to that. What is the big picture? What did he do? And what was the political necessity of what Krishna did at the time? So we'll look at all of those today in the next couple of minutes. Hopefully it will finish within 1 hour.
Sunil, there is a bit of an echo on the, so maybe you can reduce the volume a little bit and try it.
No, probably it's because everybody has to mute.
Yeah, everybody has to mute, and I put it in the chat request.
Please, please mute.
Not speaking, please mute.
Yeah. Is there a mute all here? Let me see.
I think we are now, Sunil.
Read for the kids too.
Will I understand the story?
I don't know. Let's see. Okay. So let's look at, hold on, let me start. Okay. Okay. Let's start with the question of when was Krishna born? Okay. What I have is the chart of midnight today. If you look at it here, it's August 11th, 2020, 11:59:59. So midnight today, Houston time. And as you can see, it's Sharvari Nama Samvatsara, Shravana Masa. So a lot of Puranas say Krishna was born during Shravana Masa, which is the lunar month. And then some of the Puranas says he was born in the Bhadrapada Masa. Okay, so Shravana and Bhadrapada, happen one after the other. And if you look at the Tithi today, it's Krishnashtami. So Krishna was born in Shravana Masa on the Ashtami Tithi. And if you look at the position here, so this is Mesha, Rishabha, Mithuna, Kataka. Sun is in Kataka. Krishna was born on midnight in the Rishabha Lagna. But midnight today is Mesha Lagna. And if you look at the nakshatra, it is Kritika nakshatra. It's not Rohini nakshatra. Krishna was born in Rohini nakshatra. So how should we celebrate it? Should we celebrate it as Krishna Janmashtami today? Because it doesn't meet the criteria, right? There is a rule. There is a book, an ancient book, 700, 800 years old book called Jayanti Nirnaya, just written to figure out when to celebrate Krishna Jayanti. We'll come to why we celebrate next, but when to celebrate. And it says, Rohinyam ardharatrautu yada kalashtami bhavet Jayanti nama saprokta. Which means when the day or the night, the midnight, when there is Rohini nakshatra, Rohinyam ardharatrautu, that means the Rohini nakshatra should be midnight, should be at midnight. Kala Ashtami. Kala Ashtami means Krishna Ashtami. In Sanskrita, there is a difference between Kala and Kala. These American kids will not know that. We have difficulty with our own kids. There is a difference between Kala and Kala in Sanskrita. Very surprisingly, Panini ignored that. In the Panini Ashtadhyayi, he does not consider La, which occurs in the Vedas. So that's another story. So Kala means time. And also the Dhatu is Kalabandhane. That we actually learned that in the class on Sunday. Kala means black. So Kala is not black. Kala is black. Even though in Hindi, Kala means black, but actually it says Kala. Kala means black. So Kalashtami means Krishna Ashtami. Krishna Paksha Ashtami Tithi is Kalashtami, midnight of which should be Rohini Nakshatra. Then it is, that is when you should celebrate Krishna Jayanti, is what he says. It doesn't meet the criteria today. So if the criteria is not met, the tradition is Krishna Janmashtami is celebrated. Hold on, that's why it's called Janmashtami. Because it does not meet all the criteria, it's called Janmashtami. So Janmashtami is, it only meets the Tithi criteria of the Shravana Masa. The Masa and the Tithi criteria, not all the other criteria. So it is called Janmashtami. Now let us see what will happen on September 9th, 2020, next month, almost 1 month from now. If you look at this here, it is Bhadrapada Masa, again Kalashtami, Krishnashtami Tithi. Rohini Nakshatra is at midnight. I've taken the horoscope of 11:59:59. So midnight, Rohini Nakshatra, Ashtami. And if you look at it, Sun is in Simha Rashi. See here, it is in Kataka Rashi. It is in Leo. When Krishna was born, Sun was in Leo. Krishna was born with Lagna and Moon exalted in Lagna in Rohini Nakshatra. It meets all the criteria. So this is the real celebration, is September 9th. That's the surprise I was talking about, right? Today is also traditionally celebrated as Shravana Ashtami. Krishna Kalashtami is Krishna Janmashtami. But for the real punya, full 100% punya is when you celebrate it on September 9th by fasting on this day. Then what is that called? It's called Jayanti Yoga. Rohini Nakshatra at midnight of an Ashtami, of a Krishna Ashtami, that yoga, if that occurs, is called Jayanti Yoga. That's what it says. Rohinyam Ardharatrau, Rohini Nakshatra Ardharatrau, Yada Kalashtami Bhavat Krishna Ashtami, Jayanti Nama Saprokta. It's called Jayanti Yoga. So there is a difference between calling it Krishna Jayanti and Krishna Janmashtami. So there is, people say Janmashtami for everything. Sometimes what happens is this year, the Shravana Masa happens with the sun still being in Kataka Rashi. But in some years, Shravana Masa will happen with sun moving to Simha Rashi. Then Janmashtami and Jayanti is on the same day. So it's not called Janmashtami, it is called Jayanti. So there is a difference. It's not the same. When people say Krishna Jayanti, it is different. When they say Krishna Jayanti is different because it has Jayanti Yoga. When they say Krishna Janmashtami, it is different. Okay? Jayanti Yoga is Purana Yoga. Full. The real celebration of Krishna, birth of Krishna, is September 9th, 2020 on midnight, when all of the criteria. And look at the positions, beautiful positions. Sun in the own house, Buddha is exalted, Rahu is exalted, Moon is exalted, Mars in the own house, and Jupiter in the own house with Ketu. Very good positions on that day. So, even though we celebrate the Janmashtami today, please do celebrate Jayanti Yoga, very special, on September 9th, 2020, which is the real birth of Krishna, is this date. Okay, so that was the surprise.
Hey Sunil,
Yes.
I want to add to this one. So you're exactly right. So
Who is this? It's very faint.
Yeah, this is Narayan.
Hey Narayan, yes.
So Sri Jayanti is more important than the Ashtami Tithi. So Ashtami is in South India. They never say Krishna Janmashtami. It is more of a North Indian tradition. But if you say Sri Jayanti, it refers to Krishna Jayanti. Why?
Yeah, I know that Sri Vaishnavas celebrate as the solar calendar, right? So that is so they have to do it in Simha Masa. So you're right. There is a Simha Masa has to happen. Yes.
So and there is one more thing also to this one. So when you say Janmashtami, so the thing is, they were so careful when Krishna was born. All the people were scared that Kamsa would harm Krishna. So that's why they said Shri Jayanti. That means it's a secret. They had to keep the birth of Krishna secret all the way through. That's another angle to it.
Yeah. Okay. And the other thing is, we have popularly we say, Gandhi Jayanti, this Jayanti, that Jayanti. That is a wrong usage. Jayanti doesn't mean birth date. Jayanti Yoga means Rohini Nakshatra at midnight. Right? So there is only one Jayanti, that is Krishna Jayanti. There is no other Jayanti. Even though people use it to mean birthday or anniversary, Jayanti means we're actually talking about Jayanti Yoga, which is very specific. Okay. So now let's move to the next one, to the story of Krishna. Okay. Now let's look at the Avatara confusion. There are three traditions of how to count the Avataras. This is the standard list. Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, Vamana. Right? So these are the Avataras that please mute. Okay. So Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, Vamana. So this is something that unseen by the people. Parashurama, Rama, Krishna, Buddha, and the future Kalki. That is visible to people. Okay. So this is the standard list. This is one standard list. There are two other traditions. Let's look at this. In the second tradition, it's Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, Vamana, Parashurama, Rama, Balarama is there. Krishna, Kalki. So in this tradition, Buddha is not considered as an avatara, but Balarama is considered as an avatara. Usually in the Sri Vaishnava tradition, Balarama is considered the avatara. Okay, even though technically it's an avesha, so not really a Purna avatara, but an avesha. So that is one tradition where Buddha is not considered. Okay, and if you go towards Bengal, in Bengal, what they do, they say Krishna's avatara is all this. Krishna is not considered an avatara. Krishna's avatara is all this. So they remove Krishna from the avatara list. And they take Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, Vamana, and then Parashurama, Rama, Balrama, Buddha, Kalki. They remove Krishna because Krishna himself is the full, like Vishnu, the full avatar, or the full. So all the other are the amshas. So these are three different kinds of traditions there are, and the standard list is the Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Narasimha, Vamana, Parashurama, Rama, Krishna, Buddha, and Kalki. But there are actually three different traditions of considering the avatars. And we have discussed this in the class, about how Purnamada Purnamidam says that, Matsya is as complete as Krishna or anybody else. Krishna is where the avatara, the leelas fully were manifested, but infinity is infinity everywhere. So we have studied that as philosophy, right? So this is where Krishna occurs after Rama, Krishna. Why is Krishna important? That is another question, right? Of course, we celebrate Ram Navami. If you look at Matsya Jayanti, if you look at the calendar, Matsya Jayanti is there, Kurma Jayanti, Varaha Jayanti. Of course, Narasimha Jayanti is also celebrated. Parashurama Jayanti, Ram Navami is there. Of course, Krishna Janmashtami is big. Krishna Jayanti is big. Buddha Purnima is also there. Why we are not celebrating all of those? Why Krishna? If you look at when Krishna was born, he was born in the Dwapara Yuga, just preceding the Kali Yuga in which we live today. Right? And when Kali Yuga started in 3101, before the Common Era, Krishna actually lived for 36 years in this Kali Yuga in which we live. So the Krishna Sparsha was there in, or is there on this, in this Yuga. All the others, they're very far. Rama is not preceding Treta Yuga. Rama is in another cycle. And if you look at Parashurama and all, Parashurama is, of course, he's there for a long time. But when his avatara happened, it was way before, in a yuga that is way beyond, in a time, a long time ago. Then, of course, Vamana, Narasimha, Varaha, Kurma, these are all something that's unseen by people. So there are only two avatars that happened or touched the Kali Yuga. One is Krishna, the other one is Buddha. And Buddha is actually nearer to us than Krishna. So why give importance to Krishna? Yeah, even though he is the most recent avatara is Krishna and then Buddha together, let's say Kali Yuga, touching the Kali Yuga in which we live. Why not use the latest one, Buddha, and not Krishna? Anybody?
I believe this Buddha is not the same Buddha that they are talking about. It could be a different Buddha.
No, that is this is the Buddha. Shuddhodani. That is there is only one.
Is it because he fought for dharma? He came and established dharma?
Okay. Let's look at what avatar, right? What is an avatara? Why an avatara? So, on the question of why Krishna and not Buddha, right? Avatara has two major reasons why it occurs. Okay. So, first reason is called as Balakarya. Balakarya means where there is a destruction, physical force, violence, war that is used to destroy, right? Major Narsimha, he didn't teach anything. He came, he killed Hiranyakashipu, and that's it. Varaha, Parashurama. So these were all Balakaryas, right? Rama, also Balakarya. Look at this, Jnanakaryas. Vedavyasa, he didn't fight anybody, right? He was there to establish knowledge. Dattatreya, again, he didn't fight anybody, he established knowledge. Kapila, Sankhya, he established knowledge. So that is purely Jnana Karya. There is a third Karya that is not known, well known, and that is called as Moha Karya. What Mohini did in the Kurma Avatara. It is where you confuse the asuras, so they take the wrong path, like Mohini did. Buddha is considered a Mohakarya, even though you cannot say this in front of Buddhists. But it is considered as a Mohakarya, right? So that is the reason why Buddha is left out as the major, for worship in the Kali Yuga, because it is a Mohakarya, just like Mohini is left out because it's a Mohakarya. So just previous to this, that is Krishna, and Krishna, the beauty of Krishna is he did both Balakarya by destroying and killing, and also Jnanakarya by giving the different Gitas.
Sunil, what is Mohakarya? Can you give some more details?
Mohakarya means that which confuses the Asuric nature, like Mohini, right? Mohakarya means, see, if you look at the Purana stories, there are stories where they say that Asuras, when we talk about Samudra Mantana, right? In the story of Samudra Mantana that we were talking about in the 10th chapter, when Lakshmi left the Devatas and went to Asuras, the description of the Asuras is they became disciplined, right? They became they respected their elders, they became very good, right? Even though by nature they were in the evil path, they disciplined themselves, right? And their prosperity, started occurring in the asuras, right? When that happens, there is mohakarya to confuse them to leave the good path, because asuras are not going to, they are not supposed to follow the right path. So this is to confuse the asuric nature, the tamasic nature, so that they actually do bad things that spiral down eventually, right? Though that karya which Mohini did is not to give the amrita to the asuras. What did Mohini do? Mohini said, you should not object to whatever I do. And all the asuras said, oh, you can do whatever you want, you will not object. And then she started giving the amrutas to the devatas, right? So that is a mohakarya.
Okay.
Mohakarya is to confuse the evil. Confuse the evil.
So why is Buddha mohakarya? I'm not able to understand
That's
that.
what I'm saying. So Buddha is in the Puranas considered as the mohakarya. Because why he is considered mohakarya? Because the philosophy is very depressing if we don't understand it the right way. Because nothing exists, the world doesn't exist, nothing is real. That is not the real philosophy, according to the Gita, right? Asatyam apratishtam te jagadahur anishwaram, what Gita says. It's the asuras who says the jagat is unreal, right? Has no dharma. So the asuras say that is not the true philosophy, right? So Buddha said that message in such a way that it was easy to miscomprehend it, according to the Puranas. Okay, so that is called as mohakarya. When it is, the message is not straightforward and which is confusing and taking one in the wrong path, then that's called as the mohakarya. Good?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so let's start with Krishna. See, in the Puranas, it starts off with that Vedavyasa has written everything, but he's still dissatisfied. He's still thinking, I have left out something important. And then Narada will come to him in the Badrikashrama, and he says, I see that you are some sort of thinking of something, and I know what you're thinking. Because you've already, if you look at the Mahabharata, Vedavyasa himself says, whatever is in dharmecha, arthecha, kamecha, mokshecha, bhartarshava, yadi hasti tadanyatra, yan ne hasti na tatkvachit. That means, whether it is dharma, about artha, about kama or moksha, whatever is there outside, it's found in Mahabharata, but whatever is not there, and if it's not found in Mahabharata, will not be found in anywhere, which means it doesn't exist. It means it's a complete work. Mahabharata is a complete work on dharma, artha, kama, moksha, which is four desires of humans. That's the 4 dimensions and 4 desires of humans. Everything has been written, and so Vedavyasa had written everything, in the Puranas. When he edited the Puranas in the Mahabharata, everything was already there, but he still felt that something was lacking. And Narada says, when you talk about dharma, artha, kama, moksha, if you say a little bit about them, it is complete. You can understand dharma, you can understand artha, you can understand kama, you can understand moksha. But when it comes to Bhagavat Mahima, the greatness of Paramatma, it is unlimited. The grandeur of Paramatma is unlimited. Whatever you say, it is still limited. You can say even more, and even more. So he says, that is what is lacking. if you look at Mahabharata, when does Krishna come first in Mahabharata? Do you know when Krishna appears in Mahabharata first? In the Draupadi's Swayamvara.
Draupadi's wedding.
Draupadi's wedding. So Krishna comes first in Draupadi's wedding. Of course, when the Pandavas are learning, the weaponry, they are said to have gone to Dwarika and learned it, with Balrama and Krishna. But they don't appear as characters yet in the Mahabharata until Draupadi's wedding, when Krishna and Balrama are sitting and they see this Arjuna is this in disguise, winning. And then Krishna tells him, do you know who they are? And Balrama is like, oh, I don't recognize them. Krishna says, that is Arjuna, that won. And Balrama cannot believe it. Krishna says, yes, that is Arjuna that won Draupadi. So that is when first Krishna is introduced into the story. But what is missing is what happened before all that. So that was missing. Puranas talk about it, but one Purana that really talks about it, which is the last Purana. If you look at the Purana list, the first Purana, the oldest Purana, is Brahmanda Purana. It is oldest in the list. And the last Purana in the 18 Mahapuranas is Bhagavata Mahapurana. That was the last, and that was written by Vedavyasa. Everything else edited by Vyasa, because those stories always existed. And so he edited those stories, added a lot of Krishna stories, everything in the Puranas. But Bhagavata was exclusively to show the greatness of Krishna and to capture his earlier young age, which is missing in Mahabharata. And the Mahima it shows, not just capture that, but what Mahima he showed. And what, because everything that Krishna did, even as a 3-year-old or a 7-year-old or a 10-year-old, there is a philosophy behind that, right? And so that Bhagavata talks about that, in great detail. And Narayan, who's I think he's still there. I don't know if he's still doing, but he was teaching Bhagavata every Thursday or something.
Every Thursday. It is still on.
Thursday. It's still on?
Yes, still on.
Yeah. So that Bhagavata, and we have discussed this in the class. Among all the Puranas, like I said, most of it is corrupted. Right? Most of the Puranas are corrupted, but the only one that has a big tradition, a long tradition, with very little corruption, because all the copies that are found around the country in India are very similar, is Bhagavata Purana. So Bhagavata Purana is the closest to the Panchalakshana, even though it doesn't have the actual Panchalakshanas that Puranas talk about. It is the closest to how a Purana is, what is taught in a Purana. Right? So Bhagavata is very good. And it was told over 7 days. And even today there is the Bhagavata Saptaha tradition, right? The 7 days where you call somebody to teach Bhagavata. That tradition is still alive today. So, and Bhagavata is about the grandeur of the avatara, which occurred in the Kali age in which we live. Krishna lived 36 years in the Kali Yuga in which we currently live. So it is utmost important and utmost important for philosophy and learning, and what it teaches, the things that in Narayana Ashtakshara and all of those that we saw, it's all there, right? So let's look at a couple of things about Krishna and the philosophy. I said Krishna, behind every act of Krishna, even as a child, there's a philosophy. So there is a story of Krishna, eating mud, I think when he was 2 or 3 years old. And his friends go and complain to Yashoda that Krishna is eating mud. And then Krishna comes, and this is an example of white lie, right? Why Krishna lied, or why Krishna asks somebody to lie. And Yashoda asks him, did you eat mud? Krishna says, no. And then Yashoda says, open your mouth and show me. And when he opens, We all know what she saw. She saw the whole Brahmanda in the mouth of this Krishna, including her viewing Krishna in the mouth, right? So it's a fantastic, fantastic story, which the lie of Krishna is to awaken the mother to say, I am not your baby, because you're getting attached to me. I am the baby of the world. I'm everybody's baby. Everybody loves me. In this place, in the Vrindavana, right? So that is when Yashoda says, "Oh, he's not my baby. He's Paramatma himself." And so her attitude changes after that point when she sees the whole Brahmanda in Krishna's mouth. And that lie is to awaken. Like I said, Satyam na yatartha katanam hitabhashanam, right? So even though he lied, saying I didn't eat mud, but what was the hitabhashanam? It is to awaken Yashoda, right? Yashoda was awakened when she saw the whole Brahmanda in his mouth. The same with, Krishna is a thief, right? He steals butter, but what is the butter? What is that Navanita Chora? That butter is the bhakti, that's the heart, right? The butter is for him to steal. If you look at the butter is the bhakti, and the bhakti has to be offered. If you don't offer the butter, where is it supposed to go? It needs to be offered. So that is the Navanita Chora, is nothing but the one who steals our heart. That is Krishna, right? And then another big thing is about Rasa Leela. And if you look at all these, in the serials that come out in India, Krishna is like a big adult, dancing with all of the Gopika Stris in Vrindavan. But do you know when Krishna left Vrindavana? He was about 10 years old when he left Vrindavana to Mathura, right? Between 10 to 11 years old. So we are talking about a boy who is less than 10 years old. He's a boy. He's not an adult, right? And Gopika Stris are all, bigger ladies. But this is a small boy. So it is Rasa Leela is not what people think or portray in the serials. It is the dance of the boy with all of these Gopikas who are showing that utmost bhakti to this, to Paramatma in this form, right? So we need to understand that Krishna was there in Vrindavana only until 10 years old. He left. And that from Mathura to Vrindavana, right? He left to Mathura from Vrindavana. It's about 10 miles, I think less than 10 miles. When he leaves at 10 years old, he never comes back. He never meets Gopikas again. He leaves at 10 years. I think in the Mahabharata story, I think Mahabharata or Bhagavata, I forget, he calls the Gopikas only when he is about 55 years old. So he is left at 10 and he meets the Gopikas at Prabhasa when there is a Grahana Puja. He calls the Gopikas also when he's 55 years old. So he sees them after 45 years, after he leaves Vrindavana at 10 years old. And Mathura is like 10 miles away from Vrindavana. And the story is so beautiful that the Gopikas ask him, you left and you never came back. I mean, they're all old now. They're all old ladies. Krishna, you left us. You never came back. And Krishna says, I never left you. I was always with you. That's it. I mean, that's the beauty of Krishna. Krishna is, the mantra says, like Paramatma is samprashna, it says. That means you can know everything about the world, but there'll be one thing that's always a question, and that is Paramatma. And Krishna portrayed it fantastically because he was always a question. Nobody could figure him out. Nobody could figure him out at that time when he was there and until now. You cannot figure out Krishna because he is a question mark to everybody. With the things that he does, the things that he says, it's a big question mark. It confuses everybody. right? So Rasalila should be seen from that, from that angle, from that perspective, that this is Krishna before 10 years old as a small boy dancing with the Gopika Stris, not like what they show on Hindi serial, in the Hindi serials. he's not an adult. He doesn't even see the Gopikas until he's 55 years old, right? And he leaves for Mathura because there is a celebration at Mathura, and so Krishna and Balrama go, and that's where Kamsa is, right? And who is this Kamsa? And what is this 16,000 wives? Actually 16,100, not 16,000, 16,100 wives. So we will look at all of those. Because these are all kind of frequently in FAQs, right? Frequently asked. Krishna had 16,000 wives, and Krishna was dancing with all these girls. Those are the questions, right? So let's put everything in perspective to understand Krishna, because this is all a question mark, right? So let's go to the next slide. Any questions on this one? Okay. This is the map of India, ancient India, Mahabharata times. Okay. Mahabharata captures the villains who are the Kauravas. The Kauravas are the villains. But the real villain in all of this story, who is that? Who is this guy that I'm showing here?
Jarasandhan?
He's a Magadha Naresha, Jarasandha. He is the real villain. The biggest villain is Jarasandha. What had he done? What was his plan? Look at what he has done. He had taken 22,800 princesses from all the kingdoms around India. So there were so many kingdoms in India. So he had taken prisoners of all the princes that were going to be kings at some point of time later. They were all imprisoned by him. They were all in Jarasandha's prison. And his plan was to do Naramedha of these princes. That means he will do human sacrifice to Shiva and then ascend as the emperor of India. That was his grand plan. His grand plan was to kill all of this. And I forget, British had this policy, right? That if you don't have an heir to the throne, then they usurp the power. What is it? There's some name for it. I forget what the name was. Like if you look at Jhansi and all of those, that's what happened, right? You don't have an heir to the throne, so we usurp the kingdom. The British will govern it. Jarasandha did that before the British. Thousands of years before the British, Jarasandha had that policy because he wanted to kill all these princes that were at one point going to become kings. And so when all the kings that were ruling these different kingdoms in India, when they die, there would be no heir to the throne because they're all in Jarasandha's prison. Right? Then Jarasandha would claim all of these guys. So all of them were very subservient to Jarasandha. Whenever he called them, they would come, they would send their armies. He commanded the army of whole of India. There were only two obstacles to his plan, his grand plan to be the emperor of India. And what were those two? One was the Yadus, right? Who were in Mathura, the Yaduvamsha, Yadavas. And the other were the Kurus, Hastinapura. Right? So Kurus, the big leader of the Kurus was Bhishma. So what he did to get the Yadavas on his side, he gave two of his daughters to Kamsa. So Ugrasena was the ruler of the Yadavas, Kamsa's father. So he said, I'm going to give Asti and Prasti, that's the two daughters of Jarasandha, in marriage to Kamsa. And he told him, this is an old guy, Ugrasena is an old guy, throw him in prison, you become the king, You get 2 wives, my daughters, you enjoy. Kamsa did that. So he became the right-hand man. He's also on the right side of that guy, right? He became the right-hand man of Jarasandha. Kamsa was the right-hand man of Jarasandha. Now, who was his left-hand man? There was another big villain. And that was, okay, it's behind all these videos here. Let me put it this slide. The left-hand man ruled Pragjyotisha. Pragjyotisha is today's Assam. Who was the ruler of Assam? Who is this guy?
Narakasura.
Narakasura, right? Jarasandha took the prince prisoners. Narakasura took princesses. He's a big womanizer, right? A big womanizer. So he took all the princesses put them in jail and said, you belong to me. I can do whatever. He was a big womanizer and he ruled Assam, Pragjyotisha. So he was the left-hand man. And Jarasandha had somebody who he considered like his son, right? And who is this? Chedi Raja, Shishupala, right? He considered Shishupala almost like his son, because his son didn't respect Jarasandha that much. He considered Shishupala like his son. Now, this is the situation of India. I mean, ignore this. This is Yudhishthira. So he's still not there in the picture at that time. This is pre-Yudhishthira, pre-Pandavas and Kauravas. The situation in India is, there is this one guy is one step away from becoming the emperor of India. He has made a treaty with Bhishma, because Jarasandha were kind of equal in power. So Jarasandha, you never knew who would win in a war. So Jarasandha said, I am also Chandravamsha, you are also Chandravamsha, let's make a treaty. I will not wage a war on you, you don't wage a war on me. So there was like no war policy between Bhishma and Jarasandha. And then Kamsa was his son-in-law. So Yadavas were already there, in his pocket. So nothing else to stop him other than the Narameda of these 22,800 princes of all the kingdoms of India, and then he would ascend to be the emperor of India. So this was the situation at that time. Now, this was what was the situation when Krishna appeared on the scene. Now look at political. Let's talk about political Krishna. So when you have to attack, who do you attack first? You attack the right-hand man, right? You don't go attack the king right away. You attack all the things that give the power to this guy, take them one by one. So what did he do? When he at 10 years old left for Mathura, what did he do first? He killed Kamsa. With one blow, this guy is gone. Jarasandha lost his right-hand man. Yadavas as an ally were completely gone now. Jarasandha, because Yadavas were very powerful at that time. So Yadavas and Kurus were very powerful. So he couldn't take them on. So you either had to have an ally, or you should have a treaty that they don't wage war against each other, which he had in place. But with Krishna killing this guy, Kamsa, and then reinstating the Ugrasena, what happened? Yadavas snapped out of control of Jarasandha. Yadavas were no longer allies of Jarasandha. He lost big time. He lost Yadavas big time. Then look at Krishna's calculation. This guy has 22,800 prince from all over India. This guy Narakasura has 16,100 princesses from all over India. Who do you take first? Who do you free first? Prince or princess? let's say the princesses are still in the jail until they are 40, 50 years old. What happens? They're way past their prime. They've lost their life, right?
That's true.
So Krishna's calculation is the first ones that need to be freed. They are not the princesses, the prince here in Jarasandha's custody. It is the princesses, because it is important. They are small, they're in teens, early teens. If they are imprisoned for many, many years, their whole life is lost. So then what he does, he goes straight to Narakasura, and this is over years, not after killing Kamsa, but over years. And then he says, free up, and this is of course after all the kingdoms and the kings request Krishna to free up the princesses. Krishna goes to Narakasura. He says, I have no enmity with you. You have no enmity with me. I have come here to free the prisoners that you have, those princesses from all over India. Free them. We will not wage any war. We will go. Naraka says, no way. I'm not going to free. They are for me. Right? He says, they are for my bhoga. They are my prisoners. They are my harem. Right? The harem was there. He's a bigger harem than Aurangzeb. So 16,000 princesses, that's my harem. Right? I'm not going to free. So there is a yuddha where Satyabhama is also there, because he has the Vara is only Bhumi Devi, which is the Avatara. So Shri and Bhu are Rukmini and Satyabhama. So Bhudevi, which is Satyabhama, it's only Bhudevi that will kill Narakasura. And so Satyabhama will join Krishna in the war, and then they kill Narakasura and they free the 16,100 princesses that were imprisoned by Narakasura. Now a surprising thing happens. All these princesses are very surprised, because they were imagining that they are going to be there, in the prison for lifelong, right? If Narakasura wants them, they will have to go, and that's it. Otherwise, they will just be in the prison. They never imagined that they will be free. And now they're, and even before free, Krishna tells Narakasura's son is Bhagadatta, who is Kubera's Avatara. Kubera is born as Bhagadatta. And if you look, and he says, first, they have not had a bath for a long time. First thing for you to do is make sure arrangements are made for them to have their bath, clean themselves, give them good clothes, and then they should leave. And all of those things happen, and they come to Krishna. And to Krishna's surprise, of course, Krishna is no surprise, but they say, we don't want to go back. Krishna says, you're all free. You've been freed. You can all go back to all the kingdoms that you have come from, you're imprisoned from. You can all go back. And then they say, no, we cannot. We cannot go back, Krishna. Imagine, we have lived with Narakasura, who's well-known womanizer. Do you think society will accept us when we go back? Do you think we can lead a normal life when we go back? They would say, all of these princesses came from Narakasura's harem, from imprisoned in his kingdom. Nobody will accept us. We cannot live a respectable life. We cannot go back. Put us back in prison. You know what Krishna says? Krishna says, do you want respectability? Call yourselves Krishna's queens from now on. That will give you the respect that you want. And he marries 16,100. So when they say Krishna had 16,000 wives, this is the story. This is the context behind Krishna having 16,000 wives. These are the prisoners of Narakasura who did not want to go back. They did not want to go back. And he restored their respectability. He restored their respectability by marrying them and giving his name to them. Now they could call themselves Krishna's queens. And that is how, the story of Krishna marrying 16,100 is. That is the context in which, even though if you look at the final count, it is 608. And the 8 is the Ashtamahishis, the real queens. The real queens in Rukmini, Satyabhama, Jambavati. So those are the real queens. Those are the Ashtamahishis. So the 16,100 are basically the prisoners, the princesses that were captured by Narakasura. So with that, what happened? With that blow, he has taken off right-hand man, installed Ugrasena. Yadavas are no longer his allies, his ally. And then he has destroyed Narakasura, taken off his left-hand man. This kingdom has gone to Bhagadatta. Right? So now, 2 power centers on which this villain Jarasandha relied, they are no longer there. Right? And Jarasandha has a big revenge. He is very, very angry that Kamsa is killed by Krishna. And so he makes it a point that he attacks Krishna, and the description says that he attacked Krishna with 23 Akshohinis, more than the Kurukshetra war. Kurukshetra war was 18 Akshohinis, 11 Kauravas, 7 Pandavas. But he commanded all the armies of whole of India, right? Because whoever he called, they needed to send the army. So he would collect 23 Akshohini army and then attack Mathura, right? And so this happened 18 times. And what did Krishna do? I mean, of course, it's all his Leela. He could have killed Kamsa, he killed Kamsa, he killed Narakasura, he could have killed Jarasandha. But again, if everything he does, then what will others do? So that is left for the other instruments that have taken birth, the prana that has taken birth, right? So what he did, he shifted the capital, because Jarasandha was attacking every time from Mathura to, from here in Uttar Pradesh, the today's Uttar Pradesh, to here the coast of Gujarat, in the
Are you guys able to hear him, or did we lose Sunil?
No, I think he's going to come back, it looks like.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear me? Okay, yeah, network problems. Okay, let me share that again. Oh. Okay, so we saw that. And Shishu, if you look at, it's still recording, right? Yeah, it's on the cloud. So Shishupala, right? So this again, there's a big gang of people who are supporters of Jarasandha. Shishupala was a big supporter of Jarasandha, and Jarasandha considered him almost like a son. And so Rugmi, that is Rugmini's brother, decided, you know what? Rugmini is marriageable age now, but let's give her in marriage to Shishupala. So that, you know, the friendship of all of these bad guys and who are the support of Jarasandha, you know, it becomes much closer. And that is when Rugmini sends word to Krishna through an old Brahmana that they're going to make me marry me away to Shishupala, and I don't like it. You have to come protect me. And then how Krishna went, and the whole, you know, the Swayamvara and the arrangement would be such that all the kings would have a seat except for Krishna. So they would have made all the arrangements. And then they're all waiting, and Krishna takes her away. And Rukmini, and they don't, you know, Rukmini doesn't even show up for the Swayamvara. So this angers all of these bad guys who are Jarasandha's supporters, and they're all ready for some leader, you know, something to happen so they can, you know, attack. And now how to take Jarasandha, right? Now, you know, we know the story of Pandavas, you know, how, what all happened to Pandavas. And then when Yudhishthira is established as the king of Indraprastha, right? When the kingdom is divided between Hastinapura for Duryodhana and Indraprastha, which is current Delhi. Today's Delhi is Indraprastha. So Delhi, Yudhishthira gets Delhi. And, you know, this is the thing, right? Where Krishna connects things like this. Yudhishthira becomes the king of Delhi. He has this desire to become the emperor of India, right? So to become the emperor of India, you know, everybody has to recognize you. And again, if he becomes the emperor of India, that means he is against Jarasandha. Jarasandha, you know, he wants to be the emperor of India and is very close to it. So he will never let that happen. So, and so he has this idea, this desire to become the emperor of India by doing Rajasuya Yajna. And so when Krishna comes, you know, Yudhishthira tells him, Krishna, I have this desire to perform this Rajasuya Yajna, you know, so that we will be established as the emperor of the whole of India and all the kingdoms in India. And Krishna says, oh, you know, Jarasandha attacked me 18 times. I could not defeat him. Good luck with you. I mean, this is the psychology of Krishna, right? Krishna speaks both sides. And when Krishna says that, Yudhishthira, you know, completely depressed. He's like, oh, no, it's fine, you know. Everybody is a king in their own kingdom, you know, he'll talk philosophy. Yudhishthira is like that, right? He's like, oh, if I cannot become like everybody is king in his own kingdom, you know, emperor in his own kingdom, it is no big deal. It's fine. When he starts saying that, Krishna says, oh, no, why not? Why not? You should desire to be the emperor. Why not do Rajasuya? You can do it. But there is one way to do it. He says, Jarasandha vadam chintyatam bharatarshaba, right? Yasmin jite jitam sarvam sakalam parthivam balam. He says, there is one guy. How to kill him? Chintyatam. You have to think a strategy to take this guy. Because Yasmin jite, if by whose victory over who, jitam sarvam parthivam balam. It is as if you have won the kingdom of the whole of the country. There's one guy who is the biggest obstacle. You take him down, you get the whole of emperorhood of. It's very easy to become the emperor of India. But then Yudhishthira says, yes, but you said even you could not take him and you had to run away to Dwarika. You know, if you cannot do, how can we do? And look at the question mark. Like I said, Krishna is always a question mark, right? Krishna says, it can be done. Give me your two brothers. without any weapons. Right? Give me Krishna Arjuna, Bhima Arjuna. Give me Bhima Arjuna without any weapons. We will get it done. Look at this. With full weaponry, with 23 Akshayanis, with war waged 18 times, Krishna acted as if he could not win against Jarasandha, and he had to shift the capital to Dwaravati. But now the same Krishna is saying, just give me the two brothers Bhima Arjuna without any weapons, no weapons, and we will go get this done. Right? This is the question mark. What is this Krishna? What is this thinking? One with weapon, he says, I'm unable to defeat him, and now he is asking, just give me two, not even an army. Give me two people, Bhima Arjuna, and that too without any weapons, and we will get it done, he says. Yudhishthira is like very, very scared now. Like, what are you saying? So without weapon, you're taking Bhima Arjuna? And Krishna says, and Yudhishthira, I forget the shloka, Yudhishthira says, how can I send the three of you? Bhima and Arjuna are like my eyes. Krishna is my heart. If I lose them, how do I live my life? I cannot live my life. I cannot send you. I cannot send you there. Krishna says, look at the comeback of Krishna, right? I know, Anand, you're reading Mahabharata. Look at the reasons and how he answers these questions that are put by various people, and how he comes back with these different things. You will understand, the thinking, the complexity with his thinking. He says, you say, I'm your heart. Don't you trust your heart? When your heart is saying, send them, Yudhishthira has nothing, He says, okay, you go. Please take it. He says, make sure Bhima is in front, Arjuna is in the middle, he's the younger one, and Krishna is in the back, protect. And then they go to Magadha. And so they all three of us, now they go in the guise of Brahmanas, with no weapons, nothing. They just go in the guise of Brahmanas. They go to Magadha. So at that time, this Magadha had a hill that looked like a Shivalinga. On top of a hill was a dundubi, the drum. So what they would do is, when they saw enemies, they would kind of drum the drum to alert the army, the soldiers, to take care of it. So the first thing they do, all the three of them, they go up, they kill the drummers, then they destroy the drums, and they also destroy the hill. And then they go to Jarasandha's palace. And then Krishna says, let's go from the back door. They don't even go from the front, they go on the back door. Then Arjuna and Krishna, and one of the conditions, right, when they leave, Indraprastha, one of the conditions Krishna puts to Bhima Arjuna is, don't open your mouth for anything. I will answer, you keep your mouth shut. Okay. And they're like, okay, what if they ask, why you are silent? Then I'll tell them that they're in Maunavrata. They'll not open their mouths. Okay. Let me do the talking. You just come with me. So that is the condition Krishna would have told Bhima Arjuna. So they go in, when Krishna says, let's go in the back door of Jarasandha's palace, Bhima and Arjuna are like, why back door? Why? He says, don't talk anything. Just come with me. So they go through the back door, jump everything, and then they go meet Jarasandha. And Jarasandha is like, he's like, and then Krishna starts talking to Jarasandha. Hey, Jarasandha, we have come to you. You are our enemy. Jarasandha is like, I have no enmity with any Brahmanas. At that time, Jarasandha's palace was open to any of the Brahmanas to come and ask for anything or have food. They can come and go without any fear. So he had left everything open. So Jarasandha says, I don't remember any enmity with you guys. and I have no enmity with any of the Brahmanas. So why are you saying you are the enemy? And then he also says, why? And Jarasandha asks, why did you guys come from the back door and not the front door? And Krishna says, from where I come, the tradition is, from the main door, front door, we go into the houses of Sukrudo Grahan, and through the back door, we go to the houses of enemies through the back door, and to the houses of friends through the front door. That is our tradition. And that's why we came through the back door, because you are our enemy. And that's why he says, but I don't remember the enmity. What is the enmity? And so they keep talking, and then Krishna says, okay, enough of this talk. Didn't you recognize us? He says, no, I didn't recognize. I am Krishna. This is Bhima and Arjuna, and we have come to fight you. You can choose the weapon of your choice. You can choose one among the three. The three of us will not fight you. It will be just one. And it will be the weapon of your choice, or freestyle without any weapons. If you want it, you can. It's your choice. And then look at psychology of Jarasandha. Jarasandha knew the end was near. Right? They have come to his palace unarmed and asking for a fight. He knew his end was near. And then quickly he goes and establishes his son as the king. And then the next day they start he chooses Bhima. And beautiful, right? He says, look at the Arjuna. He is a small kid in front of me. He grew up in front of my eyes. What will he fight? At that time, Arjuna is about 55 years old. And the difference between Arjuna and Bhima is 1 year. So Bhima is 56 years old. But when it comes to Arjuna, he says, he's a 55-year-old young boy. He's grown in front of my eyes. What will I fight him? Now, I don't consider him. Krishna, you are a useless fellow. I'm not going to fight with you. The only man here among the three is Bhima. I'm going to choose him. And the psychology here, if you look at Jarasandha's psychology, is if he kills Bhima, because Bhima's strength was well known as the most powerful fighter in the whole of India, the most powerful guy in the whole of India. So if by any chance, if I win against Bhima, then the world will know that I am the greatest. If I lose against Bhima, then they would say, of course, Bhima is the greatest fighter. Of course, he had no chance. So his respect would be intact. But if if he gets defeated by Arjuna, then he will lose respect. Oh, this guy left, he fought with Arjuna and he was defeated. And Arjuna is a bowman. And now look at he lost to him, right? So he was like, he made a wise choice, because he said, even if I die, my name will be respectable, because they'll say he died at the hands of Bhima, who's the greatest fighter of the age. So that's fine. My respect will be intact. So he chooses Bhima, and fight will go on for many days. It's kind of, they have Gada Yuddha, they fight, and then they even fight wrestling, freehand, and all of those things. It goes for many days, almost 15 days. They say the fight went on without any food or sleep. So constantly they were fighting each other. And then, at that stage, Krishna says, okay, enough is enough. All this drama is over. Bhima, show the strength of your Nija Rupa as Prana. Show your strength, and says, split him. Right? After 15 days, then Bhima looks at what Krishna did when he says, he splits that grass, and then he breaks his 2 legs, because the boon would be that when he's killed, because his Jara Sandha means Sandhi means to put together. By Jara is a Rakshasi woman who would have put the 2 parts of Jarasandha together, because Jarasandha would be, one half would be born to one queen and the other half to another queen. So that's the story that goes. And then Jara is the one that puts the 2 halves together. So the boon would be that if they cut him into two halves and split him and put him in the opposite ends, he will not come together. Otherwise, he will be sanda. That means he will come back to join, and the body will be full. Right? So that will be so. Krishna says, cut and then put in the opposite side. And once he gets the sign from Krishna, Bhima does likewise. He cuts off, splits his body into two, throws him on the two opposite ends, and thus ends the story of Jarasandha. So the biggest villain is gone. So the Magadha Naresha, who wanted to be the emperor of India, was gone. And what made it even easier for Yudhishthira is he had 22,800 princes from all over the country as prisoners. They freed those prisoners. They freed the prisoners and they told them, you can all go back to your kingdom. If you consider it, please accept Yudhishthira by paying the tax as the emperor. They're like, oh, you saved our lives. That's the least we could do. And then all of India, so 22,800, so all of India instantly agreed that Yudhishthira is the emperor of India. So by killing Jarasandha and freeing these prisoners on the prince, and then they were bound to do it because their life was spared, and they all took Yudhishthira as the emperor. He performed Rajasuya Yajna. He was installed as the emperor of the country, and then we all know what happened later. All of the people who were his chelas, including Shishupala, they were very, very, very angry with what has happened because all the Trinity is gone. Jarasandha, Kamsa, and Narakasura, they are gone, and now they all want to come under the umbrella of the next villain, Duryodhana. They all wanted to come under the umbrella of Duryodhana, and they also waited to make, they wanted to make trouble in Yudhishthira's Rajasuya Yajna. And then what happened when Rajasuya Yajna was done, when everybody is going back, you have to give gifts. You have to give gifts. Like even today we have that where when you send the guest off, you give the gift. Tambula, right? You give. So that gift ceremony, and in the gift ceremony, it was kind of a symbolic thing because the first one that gets the gift is considered the highest. Is the highest respectable in the hierarchy. So, okay, the picture is not very clear here. The Agra Puja. So then the question of who will get the first gift when they go back comes, because that is a very important thing, because who gets the first gift is important. Everybody, every name in the India is at that time is there in this Rajasuya, including Veda Vyasa is there. Krishna's Rupa, different Rupas are already there. Veda Vyasa is there. Parashurama, Rama is there. Of course, the Guru is there. Dronacharya is there. The grand old man, Bhishma is there. Everybody is there. Who to give? And then, Bhishma knows that these guys are here to create trouble. So he says, you know what, let's do this. Krishna should get Agra Puja. The first gift should be given to Krishna. Everybody agrees. Yes, Krishna should get the first gift. And if you look at what happens today, in today, the special guest is in the first row, and when they call them for the honor, they're seated first row. Do you know where Krishna was when they announced Krishna is going to get the Agra Puja? He was outside washing the feet of the guests that were coming in. It was his job, Padya. Padya is, to wash the feet. When the guests came in, he would wash their feet and let them in. So he was there, serving there in that capacity of washing the feet of the guests that came in. Krishna was doing. And here they're like, oh, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Now he gets the first puja, and there he is. That is another question mark. Washing the feet of the guests that were coming in. he comes in, and then they say, all of us have decided that you are going to get the Agra Puja. And so this is the scene where Krishna is seated and respect is given to him. At that point of time, Shishupala had the anger that Jarasandha was killed by these guys, anger that Rukmini was kidnapped by Krishna and he couldn't marry Rukmini. He's staying, he's having dreams about being married to Rukmini. So he could not tolerate at all. And then he comes up, in his anger, he says, what is going on in this Kurusabha? What do you guys even have any kind of respect and honor left here in this Kurusabha? You could have done this to Bhishma. He's a grand old man. Everyone would accept. Dronacharya, he's the teacher of all of the Kurus. Everybody would have accepted. Krishna's very father of Krishna, Vasudeva, was there. He could have given, Ugrasena is there. He could have been given the first honor. Parashurama, Vedavyasa, all of these are there. Instead of all of these people, you have chosen the one who does not deserve it. And you are giving the first gift, the Agra Puja, to Krishna. What is this? And then he starts, left and right, all of these things about what Krishna has done. Like they say, he uses very bad language. Krishna, he's an important man, and he ran away, and things like that. He says all of those things. And then he tells his, and then the supporters, because all the supporters are now ready to run to the front of the assembly and start attacking all the warriors there. And one of the things he says to Bhishma is, this old guy has become very old. He cannot fight, and that's why he's doing all of this. And then Bhishma stands and says, there is no one warrior in this assembly who can take me on. Even together, you cannot take me. I consider you guys like trina, like grass. So don't even talk about this, he says to Shishupala. And Shishupala tells, makes a sign to all of his supporters. So they run towards to create trouble, to start killing the Kurus. And at that time, Krishna discharges the Sudarshana, and then Shishupala is killed. So with that killing of Shishupala, the whole, the triad and this another guy who was supposed to be very close to Jarasandha is also gone. All of these evil are cleansed. And now what happened? Whoever was left wanted a leader. And that leader was Duryodhana. So all of them got attracted to Duryodhana and joined Duryodhana's side. And this was the starting point, because when this killing happens, Yudhishthira is very, very scared. It's like, what happened? This is supposed to be a auspicious event, and a killing happened. What is this foreboding? And Vedavyasa says, this is foreboding that in years to come, there is going to be a big, war in which millions of lives will be lost. And then Yudhishthira then says, from now on, I will make sure that I don't challenge anybody in any way. If they say something, I will do. And he thinks doing that would save any war. But that is what led to dice game. Because when Dhritarashtra called him, it is this reason he agreed. He could have said yes. No. Because, he knew that, there was going to be some kind of a trickery there. But he agreed because he did not want any reason for a fight. He said, I will not have any reason for the fight, and that became the reason for the fight. Right? So man thinks, and man proposes, God disposes. That is what happened. Yudhishthira thought, if I do this, nothing will happen, because Vedavyasa said there's going to be a big war. He said, if I do this, nothing will happen. But that is what led to the big war, because that is what led to the dice game, and that is what led to the Pandavas going to the Vana, and all of those things happened. And then this is also the time when Duryodhana got very jealous and very envious of the grandeur of the Pandavas. The palace was built in such a way that what appeared to be water was actually flooring, and what appeared to be flooring was like water. And there's this story that he thought something was a flooring and it turned out to be water, and he fell down, and Krishna started laughing. And because Krishna started laughing, Draupadi and other Pandavas started laughing. And then Duryodhana saw Draupadi laughing. And then he says, I am going to take the revenge on this laugh. And that led to, the revenge and counter revenge, and finally ending in the battle. So that's what the dice game happened. And then, Duryodhana usurps the kingdom. Pandavas, you know all the story. Pandavas go to the forest. And then when the Vana exile is over, Duryodhana says, according to the solar calendar, Sauramana, it is not over, and I only consider that calendar, right? Chandramana, it might be over. Sauramana is not over, so I will not give you the kingdom. Go back to exile. Even against the advice of all of the Kurus, Bhishma, Drona, everybody, he says, not an inch of land will I give. And so the preparation for war happens. Krishna says, let me go try one last time to prevent this, so that history shouldn't say that Krishna did not try. Krishna goes, and of course Duryodhana, Duryodhana is married to Krishna's daughter. Lakshana. So they're not like he's connected to everybody. He's connected to the Pandava side. He's connected to the Kaurava side also, right? So and then Duryodhana and Krishna says he goes there to Hastinapura, and then the assembly is going to be the next day, and then the question is, who will host Krishna for the night? Everybody is excited because we want Krishna to spend the night with us in our house. Bhishma, Drona, Duryodhana, right? And Duryodhana would have made big arrangements, lights everywhere. Krishna will come, in this path, light this path, for miles together. And then, and the kitchen would have created a lot of dishes and all of those things. And then Duryodhana says, come be my guest. But Krishna says, I have come here as a duta, as a messenger. And as a messenger, I cannot come to your house. And then he says a beautiful thing. He says, people go to another's house to eat for only two reasons, right? One is if there is friendship, right? And then apat bojani va punah. That means if you don't have anything to eat, then you go to somebody's house to eat. So there should either be friendship, sneha, or there should be apat, poverty, that you cannot afford anything. You go have food in somebody else's place. He says, you don't love me in any way. Nacha apat gata vayam. It is not like I'm in poverty and I cannot afford. So there is no reason for me to come to your house. Again, this is another comeback that Krishna, that regularly gives in Mahabharata. And then now everybody is happy. Bhishma is happy. Drona is happy. Oh, we can host him in our house. And Krishna says, don't even dream of it. You know why I will not come to your house? When Draupadi was being disrobed, as the Kuru elders, you were sitting there watching. I cannot come to your house. I will not come as a guest to your house. And then he chooses who? The most unlikely, and even Vidura would not have given any thought to that Krishna would come to his house as a guest. And so they would have had a regular, ganji, like in food in the house. And then Krishna says, I will stay in Vidura's house. I'm like, huh? Vidura's house? We have not made any special, And with that, Krishna sends a great message. It's not the grandeur that attracts him. It is the heart that attracts him. It's Vidura's heart. Vidura was the only one who protested when adharma was happening. And it was the bhakti of Vidura that was the genuine bhakti. And so he chose Vidura, even though Vidura had no preparation. He said, whatever you feed, that is Mrishtan, that's Amrita for me. And so he goes and goes to Vidura's house, and he stays there for the night. Again, next day, Duryodhana sends him the chariot for Krishna to come to the assembly. He comes to the assembly. We all know the story. And Krishna says this to Dhritarashtra. He says, history has stopped here. We are the two people that can change history with our decisions today. Dhritarashtra, you can tell your son to at least give 5 villages to Pandavas, and the war will stop. Leave it to me to convince the Pandavas, and I will convince the Pandavas to accept 5 villages and be happy with that, rule that. And so it is as simple as that. And Dhritarashtra says, oh Krishna, and this is his tune all through Mahabharata. You know, my son, he never listens to me, whatever I say. And then he says, maybe he might listen to, what's her name, Gandhari. He might listen to, so they'll call Gandhari. So Gandhari is one of the greatest women. That is another story for another class. So Gandhari comes and she says, you know why he spoiled? It is because of your blind love that you have spoiled him. And then, Gandhari says he will not be convinced. And Duryodhana goes away. And then Krishna says, let it be written in history that I tried even at this point to bring peace, but you did not cooperate. There is going to be a war, and there's going to be a lot of death. Then he goes away. He goes back. Then, of course, then preparation for war happens. And as you can see, the Pandavas and the Kauravas go around the country building allies. Of course, whoever were with Jarasandha, naturally they come to Duryodhana. He was able to build 11 Akshohinis of army, and then the Pandavas. And this is not just within India. The Mahabharata says China, right? Pragjyotisha actually controlled China, it says in Mahabharata. That means the king of Assam controlled China, of ancient China. The king of ancient China was in Assam. Was controlled, headquartered in Assam. China, it says Rishika. Rishika is the current Russia, right? And then Uttarakuru, which is Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, all of these, they all sent their armies, whatever armies they had, to go on one side or the other. From south, the Pandya Rajas, 2 of them were there, Pandya Rajas. So Pandya is not just recent history. Pandya is there from Mahabharata times. One joined the Kaurava side, one joined the Pandava side. So all of the kingdoms of India, they all sent their armies to either join the Kauravas or the Pandavas. And then Kurukshetra happened. And we all know that point when the Kurukshetra war was about to start, Krishna did his Jnanakarya, the greatest Jnanakarya there is, which is Bhagavad Gita. So he did that Jnanakarya. So all this while, it was Balakarya. By killing the evil from seat of power, he made sure that the good can get on the seat of power and the good will rule India. And then now he also did the Jnanakarya through Bhagavad Gita, and then the war started, and we know what happened in the war. And finally, Kauravas were routed, and then what happened? And again, it shows the greatness of Krishna. Krishna is always Hasanmukhi, right? He's always smiley face. Even when the Gita started, even the Ashochanam Vashochastvam Prajnavadamscha Bhasha says when the philosophy starts in 2nd chapter. Before that, when Arjuna is lamenting, the Gita says Prahasanniva Bharata. That means he's smiley. He's saying, When Arjuna is in despair, Krishna has a smiley face. So Krishna is always smiling, right? But there was only a couple of situations when he was actually serious. And that was when the Pandavas won and they were celebrating the victory. But Krishna was not celebrating. Krishna was very serious, very unlike Krishna. So the Pandavas were, why are you not celebrating? Why are you serious? He said, and then so Krishna said, the whole wisdom of ages is lying there on the bed of arrows. It will be lost to humanity. How can I celebrate when that situation is there? Let's all go there and learn from him. Yudhishthira, you need to learn from him. And then Yudhishthira says, how can I face him? I mean, we have killed, we have shot arrows at him. We have killed, almost killed him. How I cannot face him? He says, no, it's fine. I'll take you. So they go where, in Kurukshetra, where Bhishma is lying on the bed of arrows. Even then, Yudhishthira doesn't come. And then he tells, Krishna tells Bhishma, see, Yudhishthira, he is very guilty that, he has brought this state to you. He doesn't want to show his face to you. Bhishma says, no, it is not you. You are the rightful king. The right thing happened. Come to me. So, and then Krishna says, I can give the knowledge, but you are his Kuru Vriddha. It's the knowledge tradition that comes through the family. If it comes through you, that is the right lineage. So I want you to tell that. And Bhishma says, I'm about to die. I have no strength. Krishna says, don't worry. I will sit in you and I will speak. I will give you the strength to speak. And so, and then he gives the strength. So it's basically whole of Shanti Parva, it is almost 1/4 of Mahabharata, is Krishna speaking through Bhishma. Right? And then Yudhishthira asks him, I mean, it is one of the greatest work out there, in whether in politics, in economics, in any kind, even moksha, everything is in Shanti Parva. It's a fantastic, and you all know that I keep telling stories from Shanti Parva a lot. And then Yudhishthira and all the Pandavas ask a question. Mainly Yudhishthira asks question to him, Bhishma, and then Jnanakarya happens through Bhishma also. So Krishna, he makes sure that the coming age, everything is set. The power, political power is in the right hands. The knowledge is there. Vedavyasa has made the knowledge, and then he has made sure that this knowledge is available. So all of those things are done for the next coming age, which is our age, for the Kali Yuga. All the preparations for Kali Yuga was done by Krishna there. Right? And then Bhishma, all of those things happen. Of course, Bhishma passes away. And then, so after the Kurukshetra war, the Pandavas rule for 36 years. They rule for 36 years. And then about 107, 108 years of age, that is when, one thing happens, which I missed, is after the war, Krishna tells Yudhishthira, this is even before going to Bhishma, you need to go and get blessings from Dhritarashtra and Gandhari, because they are the elders. And he was like, how can we go? I mean, we have killed all of their kids, all of their sons. There's no way we can go. He says, no, you have to go. So they go and seek the blessings. And then Gandhari, beautiful. Gandhari is the most level-headed woman. Even during the war, when Duryodhana comes for blessings every day of the war, she doesn't bless him with win the war. She says, go fight the war. She never says you should attain victory. She never utters one day. So such a great woman she is, Gandhari. And then when Bhima comes, Gandhari says, I have questions for you. Why did you hit Bhima in the thigh and kill him? And then, and Bhima explains, Duryodhana in the thigh and kill him. When Bhima explains all the things, he says, I never hit his thing. the vara was that that he would be killed with a blow to the thigh. He bent his head when I was hitting the head, and it hit the back, at the sits bone, and that's how his thigh was broken. And then he tells, he tells it all of in a war it is apad dharma. You don't look at am I doing this right or not. It is a question of life and death, and so these rules will not hold good. And so Bhima explains all of that, and then Krishna comes, and she says to Krishna, it is not the Pandavas that killed Krishna, it is you that killed. And in one lapse of anger that she never had, she says, just like there is nobody for us, we are, they're old, there is nobody to take care of us, in this old age. Let your Vamsha also become Nirvamsha. Let your family also be destroyed. And Krishna is smiling. And Gandhari is, why are you smiling? And Krishna says, I was thinking the job of Yadu is over. Yadavas are over. How will their end happen? And you have provided the way for the end to happen. And so that is why I am smiling. He says. So even in that, he says, it's all nimitta, the instruments. And these things have to happen from somebody. And your curse will destroy the Yadavas as well, and clean up India at that time. And it happens the same way. And after 36 years of rule, Samba gets the curse, from the rishis, that the gada that they had, which they asked the rishis what was the sex of the child when they were actually carrying a gada. One of them was Samba was carrying the gada in his tummy, and like he had covered it with his shirt. So, and then the rishis will say that instrument that you have, that weapon that you have, that is the one that will bring the end of the Yadavas. And so in all, they're scared. They go to the Yadava elders and they decide to smash the maize into small pieces. They smash it, grind it, and then they put it in the ocean. And the fishes eat it. And one of the fish is caught by a hunter who uses that piece of that iron for the arrow, right? And then for the Yadavas, whatever they had put in the ocean, it will come on the shore, because the ocean brings everything to the shore, and then and that becomes the weapons. And then Yadavas start fighting with each other, killing each other, and then the end is come, and Krishna says, okay, my job is done, and the end of my avatara is also come. And so he goes and sleeps under the tree, and the hunter confuses it for a deer, and he uses the same iron piece that he found in a fish on the arrow, and he hits at Krishna. The big question is, Krishna, who restored the life of the son of Sandipani, is now killed. So again, it's a drama. It's a way to end the avatara. So Krishna's avatara is ended, and then he leaves. So that is the story of Krishna, put in the right perspective, understood in the right context, to give the meanings of so many of the common misnomers that people have about Krishna. Okay, let's open up for a few questions. Oh wow, it's what already and it's been it's a long time. Yeah, any questions?
Sunil, I want to share one thought here.
Yes, please, please.
So when Krishna goes as a Pandava Duta, so Duryodhana gets to know that Krishna is coming as a Pandava Duta, number one. So his instruction to all the people in the kingdom, including Bhishma and Drona, is to insult Krishna. So he says, I don't want any of you to stand up when Krishna comes. So all of them, what they say is, we will listen to you, we will follow what you do. So Krishna comes in the next day morning, and everybody, including Duryodhana, stand up with Anjali Mudra. Now, if you think about it a little bit, so there is a conversation, cross-talk that is going on between Bhishma and Vidura. So they say 1003. They have to talk in code words. So 3 in 1000. So in Vishnu Sahasranama, the third name, Vishwam, Vishnu,
Vashatkara.
Vashatkaraha. So Vashatkaraha means one who controls from within. So then Duryodhana asks everybody, I told all of you to sit down or not get up when Krishna entered the hall. You all stood up with Anjali Mudra. So Bhishma replies, you were the first one to stand up and we followed you. So it's a very, very, very interesting this one over there. So Vashatkaraha. So one who controls from within. So if you want to know Tamil la sonna Vashatla vechindirkan. So keep controlling from Vasha.
Yeah, Vasha. Yeah.
So and
any
and
questions? Yeah, go on.
So and also during Bhishma's lecture to Yudhishthira, there are 6 questions Yudhishthira asks. Kimekam Daivatam Loke.
In the Vishnu Sahasranama, yes. Yeah.
Question to that, Bhishma's response is from Vishnu Vashatkaraha.
Yeah. Yes.
Those were the 2 things I want.
Yes. And we have done in detail Vishnu Sahasranama, and we stopped at about 25 names. It took almost 2 months. So yeah, that is another ocean. Vishnu Sahasranama is an ocean. Yeah. So any question? So this is the story of Krishna. Any so is did you understand it? Was it put in the perspective, the right perspective? Do things make sense now? The political angle of what happened, does it make sense now?
Yes, it was a very, very, very good lecture. I think I enjoyed every bit of it. I was just stuck to my seat. I did not. So it was very good.
That is Krishna, right? Karshanat Krishna. He's the one who attracts. Yeah, Ravi. Yes.
It's always your passion with the passion that you tell, Sunil, that makes a big interesting thing. I didn't even look at my watch, and now I just said you're done. I mean, didn't even feel that way.
Yeah.
So you always say that, tell the story in a way which makes it very interesting. So thank you for that.
Good to hear a good story on a good day.
Yeah. But make sure that you celebrate on September 9th midnight. That is full Krishna Jayanti, when Rohini Nakshatra is at the midnight, and it is Ashtami Sparsha is there on that day. So it is amazing day. Especially fasting on that day is fantastic. So today and on that day, fully on that day, do the japa, Ashtakshari japa, Krishna japa, whatever, Hare Rama, you can do any of those on that day. It will be force multiplied 1,000 times, whatever you do on that day. Okay?
Thank you.
Sure, sir.
Good.
Yes,
Any more questions?
Diplomacy of Krishna should be the topic for Gita Jayanti, Sunil.
So what of Krishna?
Diplomacy of Krishna.
Diplomacy of Krishna. Correct. It is a subject, in itself. How he talks, how he handles, what he does, what his thinking is. It is very complex, and it is contradict. What he does in one, he will contradict in the other, right? And it is a study in complexity and diplomacy, at its finest. And hopefully, with the new education policy, at least, they will encourage people to do study these things in depth. Let's see. Okay, then let's finish, and hopefully, the story of Krishna made sense, and you look at Krishna even more, eyes of bhakti and devotion, because what he did was a grand thing. He has these things for India through his Balakarya and Jnanakarya, And because of that, whatever has come down has come down. Otherwise, nothing would have come down. We would, nothing would have happened. This lecture would not even have been possible. So hats off. Thank you to Krishna and Vedavyasa, his other Rupa, for what they did, the Balakarya and the Jnanakarya. And that's the reason why we are having this talk today. Okay, let's end it with the mantra. Please join me. Om Devasutam Devam Kamsachanuramard Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagatgurum. Om.
Thank you, Sunil.
Thank you, Sunil.
Thank you, Sunil.
Thank you.
Wish you all Krishna Janmashtami. Please celebrate Krishna. Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.
ಧನ್ಯವಾದ.